healthy and energetic body once and for all. 1 second here, I got to get a drink of water. All right. So, myth number 1, as long as you focus on keeping your body in a calorie deficit, you'll lose weight consistently. The fact of the matter is that calorie deficits is a very, very, very small piece of the equation, and long-term calorie deficits can kill your metabolism, and I'm going to talk about why in a Biggest Loser study here in a second. But those who focus solely just on hormones instead of counting calories lose up to 65% more weight than those counting calories. And you can see a reference from the Journal of Obesity that I posted here. And throughout this presentation, I will make claims, but I want to know that I will back up these claims with peer-reviewed, scientific, published studies. Myth number 2, carbs are responsible for obesity and today's most deadly diseases. The fact is that strategically eating lots of the carbs the right way can actually boost your fat-burning hormones, help you burn more belly fat, and even help you live longer. And here's some examples and proof. There's a few tribes across the globe that thrived on high-carb diets, up to 70% for hundreds of years. And the overweight people in obesity and disease in these groups were non-existent. And again, there's a reference at the bottom of the screen. Now, what about now? Well, Japan and China still eat 50 to 65% of their calories from carbs, yet obesity rates are much, much lower than the rest of the world there. And then there's the blue zones. These are the areas of the world where more people live to be 100 than anywhere else. Okinawa in Japan has the most centurions, which people who live to be 100. They have 85% of their calorie intake coming from carbs prior to the 1950s. So I know this was a long time ago, but these people are still alive today because it's 2017, obviously. So this just goes to show you that carbs don't make you fat. Now, here's the one that will really put the nail in the carb coffin. All right, Chris Boyd. Chris protested when the government said that they were going to remove potatoes from the school children's feeding program. And he ate nothing but potatoes for 20 potatoes for 60 days in a row. 20 potatoes. Now, obviously, he wasn't eating French fries, but you can look at this chart. He lost over 20 pounds. His glucose, his cholesterol, and his triglycerides all improved dramatically from eating nothing but potatoes. So I'm not saying you should ever go eat a bunch of potatoes or you go on a potato diet. That's just silly. But it does prove once and for all that despite all the bad press about high-carb foods like potatoes, that carbs don't make you fat. Myth number 3, you must eat 5 to 6 small, frequent meals or you'll slow down your metabolism and weight loss will stop. I believed this for years. In fact, I did it for years and I got great results. So it can and it does work, but it's not necessary. The fact is that small, frequent meals do not speed up your metabolism or help you lose more weight. The research and the published studies back it up. In fact, people who fast, so don't eat anything for 48 hours, actually increase their metabolic rate over 10%. Now, again, I would never recommend fasting for 48 hours unless it was some type of religious protocol or something like that you had to do. But it just goes to prove the point that small, frequent meals do not speed up your metabolism. Yes, you can eat small, frequent meals if you want to, but it's not necessary. So as you can see right here, I got a couple published studies. Controlled studies where one group eats many small meals and the other the same amount of food and fewer meals show that there's literally no difference between the two. So it's really all about your choices, right? And after you eat, especially protein, your metabolism is elevated slightly while you're digesting that meal, but it's the total amount of food that determines the energy used, not the number of meals. So you do not need to eat small, frequent meals. Myth number 4, eating less and moving more is all that matters when trying to lose weight. Okay, yes, you do need to eat less and you do need to move more, but it's really more about making the right choices. And eating less and moving more, if you do it in an extreme way, it only leads to rebound weight gain and potentially can damage your metabolism. And here's a real-world powerful example from the Biggest Loser contestants. So New York Times published an article about a study that was done on the season 8 contestants of the Biggest Loser. And out of 16 competitors, nearly all of them gained most, if not all, of their weight back. Some now weigh even more than before they started the contest. So why did this happen? Well, a couple reasons. First one's metabolic slowdown. When they measured their metabolisms a few years later after the show, their bodies were burning about 400 to 500 calories less per day than they were before they started the show, simply because of metabolic slowdown. See, I love shows like The Biggest Loser can be inspiring, but they can also be misleading. So Jillian and Bob, they're very successful. I respect them, but they never address hormones. So that's a big issue, is the failure to address hormones. And then there's no synergy. They're either extreme dieting and extreme exercising at once. There's no synergy, and you need to create synergy. Plus too much cardio and regular exercise. Like you can see the 4 studies down here. When you become a cardio junkie, you suppress your thyroid, you release your belly fat hormone cortisol, you'll eat more than you normally would. Studies show that after cardio, most people eat 100 more calories than they just burned off, and it increases free radicals that age you faster. So there is specific times and specific ways to do cardio the right way, but cardio junkies will just destroy their hormones. And then they're using outdated and obsolete nutritional advice. Now you can probably see why most people fail and why it's not your fault. These are the myths that people believe. We can all thank big food, big pharma, and the internet. I mean, think about this. If you're not fat and sick, they don't make money. Plain and simple. They need you to be consuming their stuff. So that's why things like intermittent fasting don't gain a lot of popularity in the media circles, because if you're intermittent fasting 12 to 16 hours, 4 or 5 days of the week, who's making money? Nobody. And just look at the evidence. It's pretty obvious why we're getting fatter and sicker year after year. But you're not alone, because we are in this together. I went through it just like I told you I did in my 20s, and obviously it gets tougher as we get older now that I'm 45. Karen went through it. She's now 57. If you're watching this, you've probably been through it in some way too. But we finally overcame the confusion and misleading advice when we pinpointed the 4 hidden keys to transforming your body in record time. And that's why it's our passion, our mission, our duty. I feel like it's an obligation to transform over 1 million people's lives by 2020. We want people to learn the real truth about living a lean, healthy, and active lifestyle, to experience the same benefits that have blessed our lives in ways that we could never imagine. So every person who follows these 4 keys step by step has something magical happen to their life. All of a sudden, day by day, you'll experience the power of synergy to visually see your body start to transform right before your eyes. So just imagine being eager to jump out of bed every morning like Karen did, excited to look in the mirror. You'll crave real, healthy, nutritious food instead of sugar and junk food, and it will actually taste delicious to you. You'll be able to eat your favorite sweet treats and cheat meals with zero guilt, but you won't crave them anymore. So there'll be a planned reward. And that's the benefits of this. And don't forget all the intangibles that are truly priceless. I mean, look at the laundry list. You'll feel more confident and sure of yourself. You'll have more purpose in your life. You'll be more driven, focused, and productive, clearer thinking, better memory. You'll have deeper, more meaningful relationships. You'll have the energy to keep up with your kids or grandkids like Karen and I. And let's not forget about the increased passion and libido in your love life. Hey, I'm just saying, tomorrow's Valentine's Day, you know what I mean? So these are the life changes you can never put a price tag on. And don't you agree? If you'd like to see any one of these changes in your life, go ahead and type yes in the chat. I want to make sure everybody's energized and ready to learn exactly how to transform your body in record time with these hidden keys. So please type yes in the chat if you'd like to see any of these intangible benefits and have your dream body. So here it is. Here comes the yes. All right, cool. Chris, Rosanna, Jean, Glenn, thanks. Awesome. So here they are, the 4 hidden keys necessary to transform your body in record time. So body transformation key number 1, you must optimize your hormones first, or you'll never lose stubborn belly fat. I'm going to give you 7 easy tips you can use right now to maximize your anti-aging and fat-burning hormones in just a second, but I want to cover all 4 keys first. Body transformation key number 2, you must customize your carb intake and cheat meals based on your activity level. So in a second, I'll provide you with a chart that you can print out and follow based on your personal needs. Body transformation key number 3, you must unlock the synergy between your diet and exercise plan like I discussed. This is the one that nobody ever talks about, but if it's missing, you most likely will fail. And I'll show you an infographic that will simplify your fat loss here in just a minute. Body transformation key number 4, you must create the right rewards and incentives. If there is one key that guarantees your success, this is it, is learning how to set up the right rewards and incentives so that you'll follow through. Wanting a flatter belly and wanting your dream body, wanting to live longer and avoid deadly diseases is not enough. You have to have body transformation key number 4 in place if you want to succeed short-term and long-term. So let's talk about body transformation key number 1. You must optimize your hormones first in order to become fat adapted and permanently lose belly fat. So after you turn age 35, the growth hormone levels inside your body decrease dramatically. This is called somatopause, or growth hormone age-related deficiency. So it's in your best interest, because growth hormone affects so many other hormones, by focusing on growth hormone hours before bed. So eating before bed isn't necessarily going to make you fat if you make healthy choices, but it will raise insulin. Even if it's just protein, it will raise insulin. When insulin is elevated, not only is it impossible for your body to burn belly fat, but when you go to bed, because insulin is the antagonist of growth hormone, it blunts growth hormone production while you sleep. So by eating a couple hours before bed, you can even have carbs in that meal if you want to. Just make sure you're having some protein with it. And wait 2 hours afterwards. Now insulin stabilizes so that when you go to sleep, you can release more growth hormone and recover faster. And it also helps regulate your serotonin. Strategic high-intensity exercise burst that we always talk about. The strategic high-intensity exercise burst that I gave to Karen when she was going through her transformation have been shown in published research to increase growth hormone 400 all the way up to 700%. Or you could try intermittent fasting like I mentioned earlier. I recommend about 4 or 5 days of the week for men who like to intermittent fast. Now, it's not for everybody, and fasting isn't the be-all, end-all. Some people respond better by not skipping breakfast. But just keep in mind the word breakfast. It's actually break fast, right? So it doesn't matter when that meal is. You just can push it back a little bit. So your last meal for men, for example, would be, say, 8 p.m. Well, then the next day you would break your fast somewhere around noon. So in general, 12 to 16 hours for men is the sweet spot. But at least 12 hours of fasting a day has been shown in research to help people lose more weight. And for women, I recommend you close this window down a little bit and you do the 14-10, so 12 to 14 hours of fasting. So last meal, let's say 8 p.m. Next meal the next morning would be 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., somewhere around there. So if you struggle with the thought of fasting and have never experimented with it before, I highly recommend it because it'll help you get control of your hunger hormones. And, the keys are to stay busy, drink a lot of water, find no-calorie bone broth. Black coffee and green tea are fine, and then you could even chew gum if you wanted to. So the other free tips to optimize your hormones in record time: use strategic refeeds and cheat meals at the right time. This will help you maximize your leptin sensitivity. Remember, it only takes about 6 or 7 days of low-carb dieting before leptin levels plummet up to 50%. A strategic refeed and cheat meal containing carbohydrates at the right time will spike insulin back or leptin back up for you and optimize your leptin sensitivity. Next thing to do is to eat balanced meals. Anytime that you snack on a sugar or a carbohydrate or a starch by itself, I'm not talking about veggies. Those, veggies aren't going to make anybody fat. I'm just talking about starchy carbs and sugars and ripe fruits. When you snack on them by themselves, they spike insulin. So the key is to make sure you balance your meals and always have a protein in every single meal. Now, keep in mind, you don't even want to eat protein by itself because it can spike insulin as well. So it's in your best interest to balance your meals and then get at least 7 hours of sleep per night. This regulates your cortisol and melatonin. And research shows that people who sleep less than 6 hours a night, it takes about 14 days before their cortisol cycle is all jacked up. And then the next thing to do is eat more protein because it regulates your hunger hormone ghrelin to help you control your appetite and cravings. Remember, when you eat protein, your body uses more calories digesting protein than it does fat or carbohydrates. So eating more protein and eating protein in every meal will naturally increase your metabolic rate. And the good hormone case study here is my buddy Stanton. And you can see he's 55 years old and he looks like he's in pretty decent shape. In the before picture, he's not super fat or anything like that. He definitely has a foundation of muscle in place, but he wasn't optimizing his hormones. So now he started optimizing his hormones, and now he's got his whole family involved with our system because he's such a big believer in it. And this is a picture he took of a transformation contest that he actually won at his gym. Body transformation key number 2, you must customize your carb intake and cheat meals based on your activity level. And this is a big mistake most people make. Now, here is a chart that you can use. And again, you'll get the PDF of this presentation at the end that you can use to print out. And you'll see 3 columns here: sedentary, active, and high intensity exercise. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see the activity, or left-hand side, you see the type of nutrition. So if you're sedentary, your hormonal metabolic demands and needs are going to be completely different than a high intensity exercise. And that's why you must customize your carb intake for faster results. So here's how carbs can improve hormonal and metabolic health. The first thing it can do is it can prevent metabolic slowdown. I'm not sure if the Biggest Loser contestants had a cheat meal, but my guess is they probably didn't, and they should.